Hey guys, so I figured while I was here I would do my second labour and delivery story. So this is with my second child, my daughter Rebecca, who is now 3, almost 4, and so I'm just going to go over my experience. So I was around 2 weeks late with Rebecca, and I'm pretty sure it was a Monday. I was booked in to be induced on the Monday, and what happened is on the Sunday night my waters broke, and I'd been experiencing what they call Braxton Hicks, or what I assumed were Braxton Hicks, before this, and so I was trying to sleep through them, and then there was like, I can't describe the feeling, honestly, it was so weird, but anyway, they just went pop, my waters broke in bed, and I tried to wake Matthew up, and I was like, Ma, my waters have broke, and his response was, you've probably just wet yourself, go back to sleep. Because obviously he was tired and he didn't want to get up. Anyway, eventually I managed to get him up, and for some stupid reason, probably because my waters had never broke at home before and I didn't really know what to expect, I thought that that initial gush was it. So I did try and have a shower and clean myself up, which obviously just proved ridiculously stupid because it just kept coming. So my mum drove us to the hospital because at the time Matt didn't have a car, he was doing his driving lessons, and we went to the same hospital that I had my first daughter at, which in hindsight was not the best idea, but because of my anxiety I just wanted to be somewhere that was familiar to help me feel more relaxed and more comfortable. And to be fair, we had a really good midwife. She was really nice, super nice actually. She'd just been on holiday to Mexico, I think. And so she was talking to Matt about that because obviously I don't like to talk. If you've watched my top 5 tips on how to focus during a pain-free labour, I will link that below. Pain-free, that's not what I meant, pain relief-free labour, I will link that below. It's quite a bit away from where we lived, so that was also pretty stupid, wasn't it? Oh my god, it was too far from where we lived. So I can't recall my midwife's name. All I know is that she was super nice and she was very attentive and encouraging and supportive, and she had the wet flannel on my head and she was giving me drinks of water and she was really talking me through it, and she was really helpful. I say talking me through it, like she knew the boundaries. But after I had Rebecca, so like the labour went really smoothly. I was in labour active labour for 5 hours. It was dead smooth. Rebecca was born and she weighed 9 pounds 6 ounces, so she was a good healthy weight, and she was long and lanky and she had this gorgeous brown hair at the time, and she was just beautiful and had skin to skin and everything was fantastic. However, after Rebecca was born, her shift had finished and she went home assuming that everything was okay because Rebecca was delivered safely and my placenta came out with no problems, like the whole thing came out. There was no worries for her. She checked me over, she stayed for about an hour after, and everything seemed fine. So, despite everything going smoothly, after she left, about, I don't know, probably half an hour, maybe an hour after she left, I had what they call a postpartum hemorrhage, and we didn't notice until I stood up. I gave Rebecca to Matthew and I stood up to go and get a shower, cleaned up, feel a bit refreshed, and basically it soaked through the pad so much that like it was just pointless, and my walk to the bathroom made it look a bit like the first 5 minutes of a Criminal Minds episode. Like it was a murder scene, it was so bloody. I remember when I was in the shower actually hearing the bounty woman come in, the one that brings the packs round for you, and she was pretty horrified anyway. She panicked and she basically told Matthew, she's like, I'm going to go and get somebody, this isn't right. So she went and got somebody and they came in, they were asking me if I was alright, and I was really dizzy and I felt like I was going to pass out, but I don't like needles or anything like that, and for some reason my logic works that because I don't like needles and that I don't need them, like don't save my life if it involves a needle. So I was like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm okay, at which point they had to catch me and put me on a chair because I almost passed out. After further inspection, they found that my uterus was not contracting in the way that it's supposed to go back to its normal size, and clots were forming. I was basically bleeding out. So there was like, they hit an emergency button, loads of midwives came in and a doctor came in. I can't remember her name either, it's so bad, it was very traumatic. So they all came in and the doctor, she had me lying down in the bed, and basically, without going into too much graphic detail, she basically removed the cause of the bleeding. If you want to know more, just ask, I will comment it below. I will tell you. But she removed the cause of the bleeding and everything seemed fine after that, and they kept an eye on me, although I wasn't allowed to walk at all, and they put me on a drip. I cannot remember what it's called, I will find out, put it in the description, where they basically give you this drug that helps your uterus contract, and they kept massaging it and stuff as well to help it along. Unfortunately, this stopped me from being able to breastfeed because I was on this, which was a bummer, so I just went to bottle. And they said that I could switch to breast afterwards once it was done, but by then she was already sort of feeding okay on the bottles, so I didn't. Now that's a different story. We found out about half an hour after I got onto the ward that the doctor, obviously because it was an emergency, had not read my files properly and was not aware that I was allergic to latex, and had actually used latex gloves when removing the problem, which explained not only why I was totally sore and swollen and still bleeding quite heavily, but why my after pains were just so bad, because I will give you my third labour and birth story at some point, but it didn't happen with the third one. So I'm not mad, because obviously things needed to be done, otherwise it could have been a lot more serious. I could have needed a transfusion, my life could have been in danger, so I'm not mad that things were done. I'm not even mad that the latex gloves were used, although in hindsight, if I'd been severely allergic to it and not just, I don't want to say mildly allergic, but I suppose that's it, it could have been a lot worse. Like, that could have been more life-threatening. But like, it could have made the situation worse, even with removing the original cause of me bleeding out. If I'd gone into, what do they call it? If I'd had a severe reaction to it, it could have made the situation a lot worse. I could have been bleeding out because of that instead. So during the time when, like, I'm not mad that she used the latex and that, what I'm more mad at is that during the time when she was removing this problem, a number of unnamed, I'm assuming trainees, came in asking, I think, for my placenta and other stuff and that. So I was like lying there on this bed, totally exposed, with this doctor, you know, removing the issue, and I had a number of trainees, 2 of which were blokes, which, because they hadn't been there from the beginning and because nobody asked me if they could come in, just made me extremely uncomfortable, because labour's over now, so I'm not in that amount of pain anymore. I don't feel fine, but I'm alert, like I care who's in the room at this point. So I had like 2 blokes in there that did not ask if they could be in there, they just sort of walked in, I'm exposed. About 3 women followed, again, I'm exposed. And I just felt really like they were violating my personal space, like something, an emergency was happening to me where I could have needed a transfusion, where my life could have been in danger, as well as the experience of having my second child, like having a child, wanting to hold her, wanting to be with her, and I had these people coming in, not asking if it was okay. They didn't even ask the doctor who was in there if it was okay. Nobody asked them to leave or wait a minute or respect any of my personal boundaries. They were just in there, and it was so disgusting to me, because I just felt like it sort of ruined what would have been, just sort of ruined the experience for me. Obviously I had a good labour and delivery and everything was fine with that, but then it's difficult for me to explain when I upload and you watch my third labour and delivery story and exactly how that was handled, and the same sort of thing happened, but it was so much different. They made me feel a lot more safe, a lot more welcome, everything went perfectly fine with that. Anyway, the point is that I felt really violated, really exposed, and it just sort of ruined the whole vibe for me. And then after that, I made the decision that if I was to have any more children, which I obviously did have another one, I would never go to that hospital again, because I think that that is just disgusting behaviour from professional staff. If it had been, if the doctor had said, yes, it's okay, or can you wait outside for a moment, or if they'd asked me, you know, do you mind me being in here, I would have been fine with that, because at the same time as she was removing the issue, I did have a bloke standing next to me, a nurse, who was fitting the drip into my hand, like into my wrist, like that part there. So he was fitting that in, and he asked me if it was okay for him to be there. The person who is giving me the medication to help me out asked if it was okay for him to be there, and that, to me, that's just respectful, obviously, because I don't know. I think it's just respectful. Like, if you're a bloke, some women just don't feel comfortable being exposed in front of them. I'm one of those women. I do not feel I feel uncomfortable being exposed in front of men that are not my husband or fiance. But no, I was perfectly okay with him doing it, and I told, you know, like, don't be silly, you don't have to ask, sort of thing. It was totally fine. And he was talking to me, trying to take my mind off what was happening in that area. But the others were just really rude, and they just walked in and they didn't say anything, and they were just like poking around, asking for things that were once inside me. I think one of them even asked to look at my baby, to which I can't really remember because I was pretty delirious. I don't know if they did and I shouted no, or if they didn't and I just imagined that. But maybe I just imagined them walking in. So yes, that was my second experience with labour and delivery. It is a hospital I will never go to again for childbirth. What started off as a really good experience with this terrific midwife just turned into this, I can't even explain it. I felt exposed, I felt disgusting. I didn't feel like I was able to have any personal space. Like, all my boundaries had been crossed. I'm a very private, but I don't like to put myself on display for anybody, really. So yeah, so that was my second experience, and it was a bit of a bummer because obviously you want it to be a super great experience, and my first experience, although I didn't really realise it at the time, hadn't been that great. And so the second one for me was just, okay, this is it, I've got to try something new. Which is why when I had my son, we went to another hospital, and I'm telling you now that even though my son's labour was by far the most traumatic experience of my life, it was also the best birthing experience of my life thus far. It was so great. The midwives were wonderful, and it just puts this other hospital to shame, honestly. So let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I will reply. I will get back to you.